high-profile guests, only the most high-profile. Andy, what do you have to say about today's show?
Well, we're having fun, Alex. Another live show on ONNtv, and our guest is Councillor Frank Fata.
Pleasure to see you again.
I'll steal a handshake too.
Ward 5. You and I go back a lot of years on
yeah.
radio, television. And we're glad you're here because the mayor and council just ratified kind of a historic thing where things are going to get better for this community. Absolutely. 3 years of sitting on pins and needles. Can you talk about it a little bit more?
Well, I think most of it has been publicized, in the last several hours. But
right.
It's a long-awaited process. It's been frustrating at the best of times. But the city will recoup a good portion of the taxes that we had owing to us by SR and of course now Algoma. So we were able to recoup over 80% of the monies owed. So it's good news. It's it's certainly it's been long overdue, obviously, and I think the taxpayers should feel reassured that now that money will be paid. The company will be taking one step closer to taking ownership, and of course, that affects a lot of young lives in this city. They're hiring people. They've hired several hundred people in the last short while, and with retirements that are going on, things are moving ahead. So we should feel pretty positive and pretty optimistic that things are going to move in a good direction, and
right.
And that's what we're counting on.
Essentially, it's a $4 million difference then.
Approximately $4 million.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, we got in excess of 80%, and I think it took a great deal of involvement by various individuals. So it wasn't just council itself, it wasn't just the mayor, but it was a culmination of people that came together, and it certainly is a relief. Anyway, that's all I can say.
And he took a little bit of time out of his busy day for us to drive right from that special meeting all the way here to the ONNtv studios. Now, speaking on the increasing tax base and the industrial tax base, do you see the sale of the steel plant being able to help either of those?
As far as the tax base?
Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. The company that is taking over has plans. And with that means that they're going to come in, they're going to be creating opportunities. They may expand their operation. They're going to be spending dollars in Algoma Steel. And with that comes assessment dollars. And that equates to more taxes for the city. So this city needs more taxes being paid by other sectors other than residential. That is important. If we set a good foundation with this, then we're looking at the possibility of the ferrochrome plant coming here, another several hundred jobs. What they would pay in taxes would be sizable. All that put together means that we keep our taxes for everybody at a stable level. And that's important.
The domino effect, if you do the first thing right, the rest follow.
We have to be optimistic. This creates a sense of confidence. And moving forward, we should feel, and again, I have to stress, young people are getting jobs at SR. There's people that have worked there all their lives, and they're now retiring in the hundreds. So that's all part and parcel of what's going on here.
Right. Just to follow up to Alex's question, you mentioned the residential tax and the industrial tax base. This goes a long way to leveling off. The word on the street was that the residential tax owner, a property owner, was paying too much because the industrial
let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah. Give us
we
the
got
bottom
to increase
line.
our tax base, and
Right.
by that I'm talking about industrial, commercial. I'm talking about the OLG has to see expansion. Those areas have to be. We have to create an environment where those areas will expand, and if we increase the tax base, it ripples down to the assessment of the residential, and of course what they pay in taxes. That's it.
Bottom line.
Bottom line.
Frank doesn't mess around, Alex.
No, absolutely not.
I'd like to just bring up just a point right now in terms of what today was like. This was great news today as far as what happened with at our meeting this afternoon. My day usually starts around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I was able to handle about 2 or 3 calls this morning. I talked to the building inspector. I went to a couple of sites where there is some issues with neighbors. And then I of course had our meeting this afternoon. And the point I'm trying to make is here right now, very clearly to the good people of Ward 5 and of course the current Ward 6, is that I will be a full-time city councillor. I will be available. Not only will I be available to answer the phone rather than a machine answering the phone, but I will be answering it with my own voice. I will be at your location by 10 a.m. if I have to. That's what happened today. It was a typical day for a full-time city councilor, and I stress that for the people, for the good people, because they're used to good service in Ward 5 and the current Ward 6. I plan to emulate, if I may use that, Frank Manzo. What the people of Ward 6, which will be the new Ward 5, can expect from me, they received from someone like Frank Manzo. And I think that the current incumbent, Ozzy Gradinetti, will also be, him and I would make a great team representing the people of the new Ward 5.
A passionate Frank Fata
There you
here
go.
in the
Right.
studios. We're going to be speaking with him a little bit more after this quick break.
Hi, welcome back to a live edition of Civic Affairs from ONNtv. It's Andy Martens and Alex Parr. We're having fun, and our guest is Ward 5 Councillor Frank Fata. Before the commercial break, gave us a passionate Frank, let me just take off on what you were saying, that I've talked to several councillors, you and I have talked, and this could be for all the candidates watching too. The average, the councillor spends 20 to 30 hours a week on this job. It's just not sitting at council every 2 weeks.
Of course not. Oh, no, it's
Would
not.
that be accurate, 20 to 30 hours
I'm not going to
a
say
week?
whether it was 20. I mean, we don't log it. Like, we're not paid by the hour.
Right.
But
roughly,
with what I do, and I can only speak for myself, because I mean, I'm able to go out at 9 a.m. and spend an hour with somebody. This morning, a fellow came to my house, and because we're talking about an issue of drainage in his backyard, he came to my house. We spoke for about an hour. Things are that type of thing happens, and that's where I think it's important to be available to people, because if all they do is get a message saying that I'll get back to you after 4 o'clock this afternoon, that's not what I'm offering people. So whether it's 10 or 15 or 20 hours, we have boards, committees. I'm on the finance committee. There's all kinds of. I'm not going to brag about that. That's not the issue here. The issue is the people that call you, individual people that call you, and they can talk to you, listen to your voice, and then say, hey, can you help me? And this morning I dealt with one issue. I was able to resolve it within a half hour because Public Works had to be involved. Public Works responds to me just like they respond to all councillors. Things get done, but there has to be action on that file, on that issue, and it gets dealt with before noon. Whereas when you got someone that's the two that are vying for the Ward 5, they're both work full time. They're not going to be able to give the people the attention they need and they deserve.
Right. Basic customer service, Alex.
Absolutely. Take Sault Ste. Marie now, and in 5 years, with the things that we're doing a lot of right things in the city. Where is the city going to be looking in 5 years' time?
Oh, there's reason for optimism, but but you can't rely on that. That in itself
Absolutely.
is certainly not enough. We have to think positive. We have to spread the message as well individually. All of us, not just we're all ambassadors of Sault Ste. Marie. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to be optimistic because I think I should be optimistic. What we dealt with today, what we could be dealing with in the next several months, if there's an announcement made with the plant, the ferrochrome plant, that creates optimism. But the people that have to feel optimistic the most are the developers, the people that are going to make things happen. There's things are going on right now commercially. There's investments going on right now. There's new restaurants being talked about. These are all part and parcel of the confidence that people have in this city. And if people are naysayers and they all want to do is talk about the negative, like last night, I went to Giovanni's last night. They had a beautiful Italian festival.
Right, their 40th
It lasted all
anniversary.
day. It was fantastic. Elvis Presley was playing on Great Northern Road at 9:30 last night.
Right.
Like, there's got to be a feel of optimism, and on the other side of the coin, it's always easier to be negative, right? But if you're optimistic, all of us, not just council, all of us. I feel optimistic, but I want to play a role in that optimism. I want to be part of the engine, if you will,
Yes,
that makes these things happen. And so in 5 years' time, all things considered, as we sit here right now, I feel optimistic. in terms of population stability and expansion. In terms of course, Algoma is a vital part of our economy. 3,000 people, work there, and all that, and the offshoot of that. So we have to feel optimistic. Our Sault Airport, it continues to expand. There's lot of good things happening down there. The downtown, we always talk about downtown, but again, we have to do things constructively, positively. You just don't throw good money after bad, okay?
Right.
And I tend to be conservative, okay? So I'm not a rubber stamper. I never have been. There may be some that are running their new people that are coming forward that may be somewhat rubber stampers. I'm not one of those. I vote on my own. I feel that it's important for me. I worry about the people that are on the sort of the scale of fixed incomes, pension incomes, people that who are still living in their home, where they've lost their spouse and they're trying to pay off that $4,000 tax bill. If you worry about those people, the people above that, they can take care of themselves. They have a nice standard of living. You worry about those people, and you vote, and you think in terms of those people. And I know a lot of those people. They still live in their homes, and they want to keep living in their homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Ward 5, you've got a lot to think about. I think there's a lot of food for thought in that conversation, but we've got more guests, and I want to thank Frank for his time coming
Thanks
on.
for coming in,
I'll
Frank.
steal another handshake
Thank you.
if you're offering.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned. Welcome back to the ONNtv studios. I'm Alex Parr, Andy Martens. This is Civic Affairs.
We're still here.
I forgot to even mention we switched studios too. The AC
Yeah.
was out, but we're cool. We're calm, collected. We're joined here by DJ Thyne, Ward 2 candidate. DJ, how you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you
Hi,
for having me here
DJ.
tonight,
Thanks
guys.
for
Thank
coming
you. I
in.
appreciate
I'll
it.
steal a handshake as well. Thank you
you.
so much for spending your time here with us.
My
Now,
pleasure.
the first question that anybody's going to ask anyone running, why are you running? What exactly has got you fired up wanting to run in this race?
I have wanted to do this for a very long time, but there have been recent involvements that have generally got me definitely more involved than others. The city has come together greatly for me in the past. Most people know that I had a very sick daughter. The city pulled together for me, and I promised myself, my wife, and the people around me, once I'm back on my feet, I'm going to give back to the city any way that I possibly can. That being said, I think that we have lost communication with our councillors. As a society, there has been a rift created, and I mean, after Mr. Sheehan, we had in our ward at the time, now they're a little bit different, 900 and something votes to represent, and it was a sad thing. We need, and I mean,
You're speaking of the by-election in
that's absolutely
2015,
correct,
yeah.
yes. And I think that some people will say that it's the downtown voters, but it's not the downtown voters. There is just normal everyday Joes down there. We want to be heard just as well as anybody else, but so many times in this society, not just in our downtown ward, but throughout the wards, we have come to a point where we've spoken and not been heard. And I think people are giving up on it. They're thinking that what's the point? What's the point? If I go vote, I'm just going to get some other person who's just not going to care, and they're just going to, cater to their own agendas. And we need to address that. We need to make sure that we can focus on reestablishing that trust amongst our community. What is set out very specifically in our guidelines, we are here to represent the people, and not even just of our own ward. If someone comes to my workplace and they say, hey, you know what? I'm in Ward 5,000, it doesn't matter. We need to make sure that we listen to those people and we address those issues as a committee. And I think that that's important, and I think that we've lost focus of that over the past. I think we've had some great counselors, but I think that they have been not replaced, but I think that we have found ourselves in a time where there is more of the others than that, and we need to be a collective of that. We need to be in there for the right reasons. We need to focus on the agendas and get this taken care of.
And that right there sounds like a right reason in and of itself to run, I'd have to say. Andy?
Yeah, definitely. I've been on the ballot for 15 years, and I hear you, DJ, in terms of not everybody is going to get the same level of response from the mayor and council, but can you give us, you wouldn't have known this, but my question to you is the impressions of the performance of mayor and council during the last 4 years. Can you give us some examples, and maybe in Ward 2 where councillors or the mayor haven't been listening to you?
I don't have any personal regrets to the council that I've had. I haven't had to go there with any personal agendas. I've been busy focusing on myself for the last little bit and regrouping after my daughter's birth. But I have to say that I hear from way more than enough. If I heard from one person, it would be enough. But way too many people telling me that they've come and they've tried to have something addressed. Even just today, I was talking to a young lady who had told me that she was trying to get a hold of her counselor for months now, just to have something as simple as a hedge trimmed because it was blocking the obstructing the view at an intersection, and it was public property. If it was private property, I can see that there's little loopholes that you have to address to make sure that the person that owns that property is okay with us doing that and making them understand that it is a public hazard. But on public property, it should be addressed already. And this lady was going through so many loopholes and getting fed so many different extensions for this, and just nobody's doing it. I mean, as a counselor, I personally, if the people I was talking to weren't doing that on public property, I'd probably go out there and just cut it down myself. And I know that there's certain ways that we're supposed to go about this. But I mean, it can be looked at two different ways. You can be looked at like you think you can just do everything you want to, or it can be looked like you really care about your people and the safety of this community, and you're putting in effort, and somebody has to start putting the effort.
Absolutely. Now, in your own words, or maybe even by definition, what are we expecting out of a counselor, and what is the role of a counselor?
Well, this is a catch question. I think we don't expect much out of our counselors anymore, except for them to feed their own agendas and purposes, and I think that that's where we have to change. I think that that's where we really have to address the fundamentals of being a counselor is democracy. We are there to represent our people. We are there to represent not just the people of our ward, even though that's our primary focus, but as a ward, we are no good to the rest of the city unless we are all at one big city working together. You know, I think that the councillors, they don't just make agendas. The 10 of us aren't going to be sitting in a room saying, okay, well, for Ward 2, we want to do that. We're going to say, no, this will better our city if we do this. This will better our city if we do that. So we are all with a common focus and goal to help the city. And I think that it is our job to represent the people of the Sioux, to better the city in any way that we possibly can. Or at least in this case, put it back on track.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you've got a point there. I would just follow up with that by saying a councillor is only one vote. A councillor cannot create jobs. Council as a whole can create jobs.
Absolutely, hence me saying we have to work together.
You need 6 votes with the new council. So the reason that question was there was the role of councillor is to facilitate the issues from your ward to
address them with the rest of us and to come to proper agreements. Hopefully to rectify and solve any situations, or to make them as minimal as possible, but to fix the addresses
Tell
as
me
together.
about your business. You own a bakery. Are you getting the right conditions to do business, and is it?
You know, that is a great question. Yeah, no, my bakery is located right downtown. It's also a birthday party center now, and we are right in the thick of this ward. I actually own 4 properties downtown, including my bakery, and the level of conditioning that I've seen down there, including the taxes and things, it seems almost like it's been forgotten, and we need to have it addressed. I do work hard, and anybody who's worked with me, particularly the people who work with me at a Giro, they know I'll never leave anybody stranded. I'll always address every issue that comes my way. I will put forth every effort and exhaust everything I can to make sure that I or someone else, or the collective of us, sees to whatever the issue is and we get something done about it, or at least make sure that you know that you were heard, because we can't make everybody happy, we can't fix everything for everybody, but 100% I want to make sure that you know you were heard and we all discussed it together and tried to do something, because there's just too much deflection happening.
All right. Well, we're DJ Thyne, Ward 2 candidate, after this.
Hi, welcome back to Civic Affairs. We're glad you're staying with us. We're live from the ONNtv studios. Andy Martens, Alex Parr, and go ahead, Alex.
Well, DJ, let's talk a little bit now about selling Sault Ste. Marie. Do you feel the city's doing a good enough job in that department in selling what Sault Ste. Marie is?
The honest truth is I do not think that we are putting even close to enough effort into that. I was also a taxi driver for 3 years, and unfortunately I got to drive people around, I shouldn't say it that way, but I got to see people's dismay with the city and what it had to offer. You know, I'm bringing people from hotels to hotels. They're coming here for weddings. That's probably our biggest tourism right now. That and the tour train in the summer. People don't ever consider the weddings. But our wedding halls shouldn't be our tourism industry. The tour train does amazing in the fall, but it shouldn't be the fundamental point of our tourist industry. We are sitting on top of a gold mine here. We have access to everything. People have to come through here to go any which direction, whether they're going through the States, whether they're going up north or west or east. We have people passing through here all the time. And it is a personal goal to give them reasons to want to stay here longer, spend more money when they're here, and want to come back.
Well, what kind of stuff should we be capitalizing on since we're in the Soo and we do have things that other cities around us or even farther away from us don't have?
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot of natural things, obviously, but we might want to consider outside sources of that too, because I mean, the nature thing is doing a great job. Hence the Agua train in the fall does a great job. Every hotel around here is totally booked up. My parents come from Nova Scotia and they have nowhere to stay. But that being said, there are other things that we can develop. I know they're working on the splash pad right now. I don't really see that as a tourist thing. That's nice for us, and it'll help our city,
Yes.
but I think that on a tourist aspect, it won't help at all. I think that we can work on having perhaps in the old Sears building, like one of those big aquariums.
Oh, okay. Like a Ripley's almost.
Yes, exactly like Ripley's. Ripley's is a very large span one. I know that I went to one in Auburn Hills a few years back, and I've gone there every time since. And it's a much smaller version inside of a mall.
I believe Mackinac Island even has their own version of an aquarium too, if I'm not mistaken.
They do, and it is a big draw. You watch these people, especially, and instantly you mentioned Ripley's, and you'll see on people's Facebooks, you'll see everywhere. Every time they go traveling somewhere, they're in there and they're taking pictures of themselves with sharks. It is a tourist grab, right? We need to find more things along those lines. That might be an easier one, but you know, in a perfect world, we'd have roller coasters and everything else. But I mean,
I would definitely
let's go
vouch
down the
for some
route for
roller
some of those
coasters.
things, you know. But when I first moved here 21 years ago, I recall there was a gentleman who went on what's called a trackless train, and he brought people around to the tourist areas. There was music down the streets when you were walking down Queen Street, and flowers. Just a really big draw. These are things that I noticed the moment that I walked downtown for the very first time, and I've never forgotten them since. I remember going to Toronto, little things like having their garbage bins painted up like little ladybugs and things like this. Silly little things. But you go there and you expect something totally different, and these little things have really caught my eye, and they've always stuck with me to this day.
Essentially, the attention to detail is what's really going to stick with somebody once they're in that city.
Absolutely, and on a tourism aspect, you know, that's why we have committees to discuss what we can afford, what we can't afford, and what we can do. And like Mr. Martens was saying earlier, you know, it's not my position to just say, hey, let's go have a amusement park and this and that, because
Right.
if it was up to me and we had unlimited budget, we would have all kinds of stuff. But we don't have that. We have a budget that we have to stick to, and that is part of our job as council, to work within that budget and to try to develop the city on a progressive manner. So, I mean, those are baby steps in the right thing, maybe a carousel, any of these kinds of things.
Andy?
Pardon me, choking up
no
here.
worries.
That's great stuff you're talking about, DJ. I've been here 28 years. Where do you think, had we done the right things in the last 30 years, where, in your opinion, should the population of Sault Ste. Marie be? 110,000? Where would you see it at this point?
You know, we are on untapped potential. We have a lot of land here, and we can progress out towards Grow Cap at any point in time, just like Toronto has engulfed all of the surrounding areas. There is no cap to what we can have here, but we need to stop having our kids move away. We need to give them reason to want to be here, and in order to do that, we have to give them both entertainment, but more importantly, we have to give them the job securities and things like this, and that all goes back to taxes, which is all a big issue. I mean, that's where it starts, but I mean, there's a lot of developmental issues. It's hard to make the draw for those things right now as things stand, but I mean, inevitably, I would like to gain that back. but with proper trust in its council, like I was talking about in the beginning, with that reconnect happening in the next few years, I would like to see that really, really grow. We can work with our people to use their situations. There's a couple great committees out there that I've recently been discovered to and greatly appreciative of. One would be the Ratepayers Association, who literally brings everything to the table in very nice form. They do all of the hard work, and they find out what can be done, what can't be done, how much it's going to cost, what it costs not to do it. And they've been washed under the table for too long too. And they are also on Facebook, and I would really, really encourage anybody to go to their pages and listen to the actual issues with an unbiased point of view. We have a Neighborhood Watch, which I've recently also been doing on Facebook for a lot, and I think that all of us need to get really addressed into that too. Not to throw the plugs out there, but it's really important for the city to have those kind of things out there, and for us as council or just civilian to really address those things, embrace them, and utilize them to our advantage.
Well, DJ, you're a man with the right issues at heart, I would definitely have to say. But that's all our time with Mr. Thyne here, so make sure as Ward 2 voters, you keep this man in mind here. We'll be back after this quick break.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Welcome back to Civic Affairs. Now joining us, I would refer to him a few years ago as Mr. Young, but now he's on the show with me. I hopefully get to refer to him as Mr. Jason Young. Jason, how you doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Hey, Jason, thanks for coming back and
Thank you very
coming
much.
in and back-to-back Ward 2 candidates here.
Now, before we came back live, we were talking a little bit about your background, about how you're teaching, and you did manage to find yourself a full-time position here, but there is sacrifice you had to make to live in the Sault. Do you want to dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, when I came back to the Sault with my wife, I was working in an industrial job here in town. That company unfortunately relocated, and I had to take a job out of town, and that job unfortunately was affected by a strike in the aviation industry in Seattle, and I took that opportunity to go to Teachers College, allowed me to get my B.Ed, and then I came back to the Sault and was hired by the ADSB in a supply role, and spent 5 years on the supply list. We make small sacrifices to get to the goals, and so I was offered a position in Chapleau and spent 2 years in the lovely community of Chapleau. Had never been before, and but was very fortunate to get a position out at Cass, so I'm teaching out at Cass.
And we're very happy for you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
And Andy.
Well, I've been here 28 years. I haven't been to Chapleau, so.
Oh,
Anyway,
you should go. It's a great little town.
Jason, why are you running for councillor? We talked to your fellow candidate, DJ Thyne, earlier, and just wondering what made you want to put your name forward.
Well, I've been very interested, and I've been in Ward 2 since I moved back to Sault Ste. Marie. We've been very fortunate. We've had excellent representation over the years. We've, one of our former councillors is now our MP. This is, these are big steps to fill, or big shoes to fill. However, I felt that I had something to offer. I have a number of years of experience working in businesses that require teamwork. I work for a large organization, the ADSB. Again, teamwork is absolutely critical, and I believe I have skills and the ability to effectively represent the people of Ward 2 in the manner to which they've been accustomed.
And with your background, what from it do you think will actually help benefit you in this municipal election?
Well, one of the things that I worked in aviation for a number of years, and one of the things that the industry is very strong on is the idea of continuous quality improvement. And that really is much more of an attitude than an activity. So the approach is that you set goals, you define where you are, you measure your progress, and you reflect on that progress, and it loops. So you have an endless cycle of continuously looking at what you're doing and trying to refine it. In industry, much as in the economy, people are doing more with less. And to be effective at that, you have to really be methodical. And that methodology is something that was really promoted in industry. I believe that it's a fantastic thing to bring to the table.
Absolutely. I'll throw it back to my co-anchor here, Andy Martens.
Jason, you and I were talking a couple of days ago that, this could be a change election, it may not be, but you mentioned something really interesting. Can we revisit ideas such as the late Mayor John Rosewell with his ideas that he worked hard? Can you sort of, as a unit, if you get elected, to convince your other 9 councillors and the mayor that some of these ideas like the transpolar hub and things may not be a bad idea to look at again?
Well, I think
Talk about that a little bit.
I think that we in the city we discuss all kinds of things that we can do to make use of the natural beauty around us. Tourism gets bantered about, since I was a young man, tourism has been seen as the answer to Sault Ste. Marie's problem. Unfortunately, tourism doesn't have lots and lots of really good paying jobs.
Right.
Tourism has lots of jobs, but they're not great jobs. And in order for people to want to build a life in this city, and in order for them to want to build a career here, they're going to have places, they have to be upwardly mobile type jobs. We want people to have the ability to do things that will keep them here. I like the Transpolar Hub because working in industry here in town, one of the things that used to really surprise a lot of our customers was that we could get goods into the States very quickly. This is a fantastic unexploited thing. And if you've ever been across the bridge at Blue Water, you've seen miles of trucks lined up.
Yeah.
Miles and miles of trucks lined up. We have an opportunity here that's not being tapped. I don't believe, Andy, I don't believe council should be tapping that. I believe some very clever entrepreneur is going to come along and look at it and
You
say,
say that one more time again? I just have an idea that came to my mind. I got to write down. Hold on. Continue. So
yeah,
entrepreneurial.
I believe that somebody's going to come along and say, hey, look, there's an opportunity here for me to do something and make a lot of money at it. Our role in council is to make sure that the doors are open for those people.
You're right, but council can create the right conditions for those entrepreneurs to come and
Absolutely,
ask
absolutely.
about these
and
things.
so, we were very fortunate. Mayor Roswell had a really excellent vision. Is that something for today? I don't know. The voters of our city are going to decide. They're going to put people in the council chamber to try and flesh those visions out. My hope is that I can appeal to those people and that those visions can be exploited and we can get some good paying jobs here and things that will keep our youth here.
After this quick break, we'll pick Jason Young's brain just a little bit more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to a live edition of Civic Affairs. Myself, Alex Parr, Andy Martens, and our guest here, Jason Young. Now, Jason, what would you say is your message for the people in Ward 2, for the people that can vote for you? Because this is going to be a question that they're going to want to know the answer to.
The slogan for my campaign is practical, principled politics.
And
I
alliteration. like
don't
that.
believe that we need flash and flare in council. I believe we need prudent leadership, people who understand economic viability and who are willing to run the city as you would run your own budget. Perhaps you run a good budget, perhaps you don't.
Right.
However, I think we all understand the idea of prudent financial planning and prudent spending. I also believe that we need to look at sustainability, look at environmental issues in the city, to be forward thinking. And our council needs to make that a priority. Those are things that are going to, I don't want to say haunt us,
Right.
but it's certainly our legacy. As civic leaders, people are going to look back and they're going to remember when things got started. And instead of instead of kicking old issues around, instead of divisive politics, I really believe that what the city needs is to have people that are willing to work together in a very effective manner with a forward-looking vision, and that's my message.
Simply put, and I don't
Well, it's great, yeah.
Really?
Definitely, we gotta look forward. And my next question was, are we doing enough to promote our location, geographic location? But you brought it up very well that we haven't gotten it done. We have 2 million Americans that come to the Mackinac Bridge that don't go any further. We have signage that we could put on the I-75 to promote this community. Like you mentioned, Detroit's 6 hours away, closer than Toronto, and we're not getting it done.
You don't have to go to the Mackinac Bridge. Go to Sault, Michigan.
Exactly.
I was over there last Friday night for a theater production that my sister-in-law was involved with.
Right.
And the downtown was alive. There were people walking back and forth. There were stores open. There was music. It was a very, very lively scene.
Right.
There is no reason our city cannot come up with this. And we see it in fits and starts. The little ice cream store down at the end of Queen Street,
Right.
doing a fantastic job. I drive by there and there's people there out on the streets. This is something I haven't seen in years.
Right.
People are actually going out of their way to go downtown. I really believe that if we foster the right conditions in the downtown core, lots of people will come. If you build it, they do come.
Right. What are some things you'd like to actually see done with the downtown? Anything that's just on the top of your mind, maybe?
Well, it's probably a little outlandish, but I think a streetcar would be awesome.
That would
I
be
think a
pretty sweet.
streetcar would be pretty cool. Better yet, how about a green streetcar or a solar-powered streetcar or something that we can promote as being forward-looking? I would like to see council and I would like to see the merchants get together and discuss what their needs are. I've talked to merchants. I haven't talked to DJ specifically, but he has 100 good ideas. They know what they need down there. In industry, we used to have a saying, don't be bullied by the experts. Go and find out. Go and find out from the people who are affected by these things. And if you talk to them, they will give you the answers. Those are the people we need to talk to.
Absolutely. Andy?
One quick question, we're wrapping up your segment. The one-way streets in downtown, since Ward 2 is part of the downtown and the new Ward 2 is part of the downtown, has this really done us any favors, these one-way streets? Bay Street coming one way, Queen Street going the other?
Well, I think we should leave well enough alone with that problem. I know that there are probably lots of merchants on Queen that would love to see two-way traffic. I think that there are advantages and disadvantages. I would really, really like to see more green space and more pedestrians. And the traffic flows pretty well around Queen, and that's conducive to more pedestrian traffic. I'm quite certain there are experts on these issues that work for the planning department that have far more knowledge. I'm one person. And as I say, I'm sure that the Queenstown merchants have an idea of what they want. I'm sure the planning department has an idea of what they need. And I'm sure that there are way more inputs to that equation than just my vision.
The argument being that somebody has to come off the bridge and come along Bay Street all the way around to get on to the Queen Street
Well,
kind of thing.
Andy, I certainly think it's a fantastic point, and I think that we really need to capitalize on that new bridge plaza and getting traffic into our downtown. How that's done and who is served best by that, I think is it's a broad question. And it's the kind of thing, again, all we have to do is go and ask. I'm sure everybody has an opinion, and my role as a councillor is to make sure those opinions come to the table.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for your time today, and I'm sure we'll be bugging you along the road to this
Please
municipal election. So thank you so much for your time today.
Good
Thank you
luck,
guys so much for watching, but we got one more guest. Don't go anywhere.
Thanks for staying with us. Andy Martens, Alex Parr, Civic Affairs from the studios of ONNtv. We're live. And our final guest is Corey Gardi, a candidate for councillor in Ward 5. Thanks for coming in, Corey.
Thanks
You
for
and
having
I-
me, gentlemen.
Handshake,
You and
absolutely,
I know
Corey.
each other very well.
We've known
and,
each other for a while.
You're
and
no stranger to politics. So, Corey, what made you want to get into running for council this time around?
Well, you know what? I've been an avid follower and someone who's been really interested in civic affairs for many years, municipal affairs. I participated in a lot of political campaigns locally for people I believed in and for people I knew well at different levels. And I thought it was time that I put my name forward to demonstrate my commitment to the community, and I thought council was a good way of doing that.
That's a pretty good answer.
Yeah, I'd have to say so. And Corey, let's speak a little bit about your background. What kind of things have you done that have really made yourself think, I'm a good suitor for this councillor job?
Well, I was born, raised, and educated in Sault Ste. Marie.
That's a hot start right
I've been
there.
working here for 17 years full time. I started out as a teacher. I'm currently serve as a vice principal. I've been involved professionally throughout the community. I've volunteered my time years back through Habitat for Humanity. I've been on the Sault Ste. Marie Planning Advisory Committee in the past. And having been a participant in politics in the past, I've always found it very exciting, and I thought it was time that I could give back. And I think people who work with me know that I could be someone who's counted on as a strong advocate, and I want to do that for the residents of Ward 5 and the business owners.
No better reasons for that then.
Corey's school's right down the street from me. They do an
We were talking about that
excellent
the other
job.
night.
What school do you actually
Holy
go to school
Cross.
at?
Yeah.
At Holy Cross.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
Corey, what kind of your skills as a vice principal can you bring to the role of city councillor? Can you talk to us about
So what
that
kind
a
of
little
skills are
bit?
transferable over to
Yeah,
that role?
like what-
Well, I need to be a pretty good communicator. I work with a large staff. I have to be able to prioritize what's important and what necessarily isn't. You know, I'm part of the local principals association here in Sault. I serve on the executive of that, and I often, in conjunction with the executive, advocate for the members of our local association. You know, I deal with, you know, parents often call with different concerns, and I have to work to kind of resolve those as best I can. And so I think those are some of the skills that are
You got
quite
neighbors
transferable.
calling about busing issues?
I've got neighbors calling you about busing issues. We're not going to name anybody, but
No.
Who would do that?
No,
right?
no, I don't know.
Not Andy, definitely.
No,
not.
definitely. I've got my inside track.
For sure. Now, speaking about prioritizing and speaking about how you do work with youth, keeping youth in the city,
Yeah.
how important do you feel that is?
it's as important of an issue as you're going to get, right? We've been talking about diversifying our economy and economic development for years and years and years. And over the course of the last term, I think we've done as good of a job as we could. Council and the mayor have made some decisions in terms of streamlining economic development and looking at some kind of overlap there was between the Economic Development Corporation and the city. You know, save some money and restructure what's going on between the Innovation Center and the Economic Development Corporation. You know, I've been talking a lot to people about pursuing an economy based on knowledge. I think, you know, advancements in automation and technology have changed the way manufacturing occurs. It doesn't create the jobs that it used to. We can look at the steel plant for that, right? Used to employ, you know, 10, 12, 13,000 people. Now it's probably closer to 3. But that's because of changes in automation.
Right.
So I think there needs to be a focused effort on furthering the relationship between our schools, Sault College and Algoma University, and our businesses. And there's some people in town who are doing a good job of addressing innovation in their particular business. I think there could be a lot more focused effort in that. And if we're not, like, you know, we're 20 years in here to the 21st century.
Already, yeah.
We got to get moving, and I want to kind of build on some of the momentum that started. Long and the short of it is, there are businesses in town who need people to be able to work, right, and to be trained properly for the jobs that they have within their business. I'll give you an example. West end of town, Ward 5, JD Aero. It's expanded. It's as solid a business as there is in the community, okay? And I don't know, but I'm sure that the way they've been moving lately, they're going to be prepared to expand again. And we have to make sure that we have the human resource to address their need. So, you know, someplace like Sault College, I don't know if they have an aircraft maintenance program. If they do, they need to continue it. And if they don't, they need to get one based upon like kind of my conversations within the ward. That's one example. And it's just, to go back around, it's as critical an issue as the community faces.
I'll give a shout out to JD Arrow, my old employer, but now I'm here in the Superior Media Studios.
Oh, nice.
So Corey, tell me a little bit about what the role of a city councillor is, what it is that it entails, what people should be expecting of their Ward 5 councillor.
Well, more than anything, I think a Ward 5 councillor needs to be sensitive to the concerns of the residents and the businesses that make up their constituency, okay, the constituency of the ward. I think you have to be willing to go out and meet with people. You have to be available to people. You need to be able to address their concerns promptly and efficiently. I think you need to demonstrate that you can have an effective working relationship with city staff, because ultimately they're the people who we rely on for the community services. And you know, hardworking. I think you have to be a people person and want to be more than anything, you need to be a good listener, because as you find in the midst of a campaign, it's about listening, it's not about talking. So when I've been going to doors, the best thing that I've found is that I just be quiet and I listen to what the people tell me, to kind of inform where I feel that they feel the ward needs to go and the community needs to go.
And these are the kind of things that the people should be expecting of you. But what is your message to the voters of Ward 5?
The message to the voters of Ward 5 is that I am prepared to work as hard as I can to address the concerns that you have, and I will do so I will get back to you in a prompt way, and I'll be able to prioritize. And I look forward to working with each and every one of you, and I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can over the course of the next several weeks, couple months leading up to Election Day.
Awesome. Well, Corey, I want to thank you so much for your time. But that is it. Another episode of Civic Affairs in the books, all
Wow.
wrapped up. For me, Andy, Corey, and all of our
That's it.
guests earlier, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode. But what were you saying there, Andy? Sorry to cut you off.
That's it. No.
That's it? Oh,
Yeah, we're
okay.
done now.
All right. Well, I guess we're
You
done.
guys are doing a great
Good night,
job.
everybody. Oh, thank
Appreciate
you, Corey.
it.
Thanks, Corey, for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All good?